All right, thank you all for being here. So today we're talking about value for value. My name's Bobby Shell. I'm also an artist who makes music along with these folks, but we're going to talk about what value for value is. So each of you guys, I'd love to hear an introduction, who you are, what you do, so the crowd can know, and give us your elevator pitch for what value for value is.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin. I'm an independent singer-songwriter from the UK. Stoked to be here. I've been releasing music for many years, but recently got onto the value for value train, and it's great to be here. So what I'd say value for value is, it's just a new way of monetizing your music or content online. Peer-to-peer, fan to artist, zero gatekeepers, the way it should be.
Awesome. Hey, aloha, everybody. I'm DJ Valerie B-Love. I am the host and the founder of Bitcoin for Peace. I am on a mission to help people understand why Bitcoin is a superior tool for peace. And obviously, as a musician and artist, I also think that music is a way to create more peace on planet Earth. And value for me is user gets to decide what the value is of content. Digital content is so easily reproducible, and it's difficult to put a value on it sometimes. So why not let the consumers decide? And so for all of us who are content creators, whether we're coaches, whether we're musicians, podcasters, educators, consultants, writers, when we're creating digital content, it can go out there in the world and we don't even know who's consuming it. And so when we use value for value, which is sats or dollars, it could be anything, now we actually have something that is meaningful for us to help us understand how to create better opportunities and content for our audience. So,
my name's Captain Youth. I write music, and then I have a few songs about Bitcoin and the culture of Bitcoin. For me, value for value is putting something out there and then having the person that's listening to it or hear it determine what they think the value is. So the person that's hearing it basically is paying for exactly what they get. I could make a song and have one person not really care about it, and so for them it's worth nothing, but someone else might really care about it, or it might even change their life, and for them it's worth $1,000. So yeah, that's what it is to me. I also think that it's like a newer thing, and so maybe 5 years from now the definition will broaden or change a little bit, but that's where I stand right now.
All right, great, thank you guys. So what's interesting about value for value is what's kind of led to here. And if you're on X, you're on YouTube, you've probably seen there's all these pathways for creators to monetize, and often there's a lot of hurdles. And one of the most interesting things is the fastest growing small business segment in America is content creators. So we're seeing X lower the bar to create, YouTube has been lowering the bar, but with this model, it gives people day one the ability to monetize. So to kind of kick this off, first question, Joe, could you maybe talk about how value for value is helping indie artists and maybe getting that 1,000 true fans?
So that's what's so exciting about this technology, is that as an independent artist, it kind of brings back a sort of realistic career path where you don't need to aspire to be an Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift. You don't need to, aim for that. It's great if you are aiming for that level, but you can really just get that core 1,000 diehard fans that are willing to send you a few dollars throughout the year. And so that's what's exciting for me, at least. It kind of brings back that, what I call the middle ground of like realism for indie artists. So I think that's kind of game-changing in a way.
Yeah, I think the 1,000 True Fans concept is great from Kevin Kelly, obviously. We're so used to being the product and everything is free. And I think for those of us who are consumers, I listen to certain songs on Spotify every single day because I'm a meditator, but I know that artist is only getting 0.0001 cent per play, and that makes me feel badly, and I'm like, wow, what could I do to help that artist get more revenue? And not that I'm going to go buy the song each single day, but I think it's very important for those of us who are consumers to start realizing, like, if we want our creators and our musicians and our podcasters to stay in business and not have to go flip burgers at Jack in the Box, we need to make sure that they're monetized correctly. And especially if we're independent artists, independent creators, it's very difficult to get on the top of Spotify's playlist or on the top of Amazon or on the top of Netflix or whatever the platforms are. So any opportunities to have avenues of revenue are very, very important. And so for those of us who are fans and super fans and with 1,000 true fans, it's like, wow, I get to start to connect again with my artists. And so what's really interesting about value for value and Bitcoin Enlightening and Zaps, Pod Home, Nostr, everything, we have the opportunity to do micro payments for everybody. And so that feels good as a consumer. And I think for all of us, again, as creators, we're like, wow, they really love this episode, or they really love this song, and nobody's zapping this over here, so maybe I should focus on this type of content and not focus on this as much. So, and then you also have an opportunity, instead of just likes that you're stuck with algorithms, to hope that you get to reach your audience. Put your money where your mouth is. So if you know that this wallet is zapping you constantly, well, guess what? You can send them a free ticket to your show. You can get more engagement. You can have an opportunity to develop a fan base that's based on, put your money where your mouth is. So that's what I would say.
I don't have too much to add. I think some of these platforms that help facilitate, like the value for value model, like Wavelake and Fountain, I think that one of the biggest benefits for artists that aren't as well known is that it helps you find your super fans. So they're just smaller platforms right now, and so by putting music onto them, people more easily find you, and it's easier to grow your fan base.
Yeah, those are great points. Now, before we dive into maybe some of how the royalties work, like you hear that we're streaming or sending money to the creator, and at first blush you might think that, I'm going to be spending a lot more. And what actually happens is you only pay for what you use. So versus Netflix, if you have an account and maybe you travel and you don't watch it that month, you still pay. With value for value, you can set the number for how much you want to stream by the minute or hour, and you could end up paying less monthly. Or if you really have, an affinity for an artist, you could maybe send them $100. So Adam Curry later today is going to be speaking and talking, and he coined podcasting 2.0. He's the original guy from MTV who made podcasting, kind of gave it up to Apple, made podcasting 2.0, and that's why we're here. So, considering the optionality that gives listeners, I would love for you guys to also share this upgraded back end, like how royalties are managed. Captain, maybe we could start with you and wrap back around this way on just like these splits and the impact it makes for an artist.
It's probably not my strongest suit. I don't know too much about it. I just think that compared to like Spotify and other platforms, you're getting more money, and then you're just getting it directly. So there's no middleman, no fees to pay. With Spotify, you have to like earn an X amount of dollars before you can even withdraw and get paid. Whereas, I put a song on Wavelake. If someone sends me 10,000 sats, I can get those immediately.
Yeah, I think the split concept is super cool now. We've got Ellen Bits and we've got some other tools that automatically, if I have a podcast or a piece of art or a song or a video, that unit of content, I can have sub-wallets attached to it for my editor or for, my organizer, for my writer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so anytime somebody streams me some sats, it will automatically go into those wallets. And so that eliminates a lot of the admin. It eliminates a lot of the delays that come with royalties, because a lot of times, depending on who your agencies are and where your music is hosted, 90, 180 days, nothing's transparent. And the other thing, you don't know who's listening to your music. You don't know who's consuming your content on Spotify. You just know that you had 10,000 plays. But so you don't have an opportunity, again, to engage with your audience. So it's really powerful. So what we're trying to do, obviously, is remove friction points, and I think this is something that really helps removing friction for supporting artists.
I think what's so different about this model is that it's just completely open, and anyone can listen to it for free, because it's like RSS is a protocol. As soon as you upload your music or podcast to RSS, it can show up in any compatible app. And people are kind of used to just like being locked into subscriptions, whether it's just Spotify or Apple Music, or like just downloading from iTunes. I don't know if anyone does that anymore, or like paywalls. This is completely different. This is like the content is completely open from day one, ad free. You can listen to as much as you like, and then you decide. It's on the listener to decide how much that song was meant to them or whatever. And like the question is, you think, well, would anyone pay for anything if it's open from the start? But what I'm finding, what a lot of other musicians are finding, is that people do want to give back something to songs that mean a lot to them, and we're actually making a lot more than we were on Spotify, Apple, and all these other things. So,
yeah. I was going to say, this idea isn't new. Anyone who's a Radiohead fan listened to In Rainbows, that album in 2009. They went over the label, put it online for free. They said, pay what you want. They ended up taking home 3 times as much. Now, cool, right? But now we have the ability where when someone enjoys your stuff, they stream it to you, it hits your wallet immediately. And that's what's really exciting.
And I just want to say about the back end thing. At the moment, the way the traditional music industry works is you go through, as an indie artist, you go through a distributor, and they put it on all the separate siloed platforms on your behalf. Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music. But with this, you upload it to one place. It shows up in any RSS compatible app. You put your Lightning address in there, and you can even put splits in. So say there's like several songwriters, or you want to pay the musicians. You didn't pay them a session fee. They want a cut of the royalties. You put their Lightning addresses in. As soon as that song gets zapped, it splits in that exact proportion to everyone's wallet, all automated. So that kind of gets rid of a lot of the friction. And you've got like your royalty collection companies, like in the UK we got PRS, and here you've got BMI, ASCAP, CSAC. These guys are dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, and not their only job, but their main purpose is to get money from A to B, from the listener to the artist and songwriters. So this kind of like automates the whole thing, which is kind of crazy.
Awesome. So what I want to dive into a bit more next is the interoperability of RSS. So from the crowd, who's used Nostr? Raise your hand if you're familiar with it. Okay, maybe like 30, 40%. So we've used the word open source, and if you're not highly technical, it just means it's free and open online. You can go grab this software and start building with it. Not everyone can do that, right? Like that's technical and challenging, but there's platforms like Wavelake that were mentioned. There's Fountain app. If you listen to podcasts, you can use Fountain, and you can immediately start supporting artists or podcasters. Now, what's cool about this, and I want you guys to share your opinion, me as an artist, I have my music on Wavelake, and when someone on Fountain, for instance, listens to like one of the DJs, and they tip the DJ and leave a little note, I then see it on my dashboard, and I see, podcast ABC from this user sent me money, they said this message. I walk away with affirmation and encouragement. But our audience, they can form a deeper relationship with us, and I think you brought that up, so maybe you could touch on that for us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously data is king, and so when we can understand who's consuming things from where, we can understand how we can, again, get our work out there to our favorite fans, right? Because right now we look out in the social media world and the interwebs, and we're like, who the hell is listening to my stuff? And so this is super direct contact, right? And as a podcaster also, like, I don't know who's listening to my stuff on Apple or Spotify, but I know who's listening to it on Fountain. And I'm excited because they're giving me a couple stats here, like great episode, cool guest, etc. And so I feel a lot more excited to serve that audience because now I get to connect with them. And I think as a creative, that's our job. I mean, we're expressive people in any kind of creative endeavors. And yeah, you can just throw your artwork and your music and everything out into the world, but it sure does feel nice when it lands on someone's heart and their soul, and then you get that feedback. And so again, having that opportunity to connect and instant feedback feels like it's a treasure. So I'm so stoked, and we're so early. And I call it the orange domino effect. And so think about all the musicians and artists and creatives who've got millions and billions of followers out there. And if we can help them understand what they can do with their music and art and their creativity, and if they're excited, all of a sudden their million fans, their billion fans are now Bitcoiners. Now they're using the Lightning Network. Now they're using Zaps. And so for all of us, it's important that we figure out like who's excited about using Bitcoin and how can we strategically collaborate with them and get them excited about using value for value.
Yeah, Captain Youth, if you wouldn't mind, maybe dive into some of your personal experiences just giving and receiving value, what it means.
Well, I have songs on Wavelake that people can listen to and then stream directly for sats. I've gotten tips and zaps on Nostr, same idea. But then if you want to like expand the definition of the value for value, I think like, trading sets for conference tickets and, there's other ways to get to do it as well. So
yeah, wonderful. Well, I guess diving in further here now, I want to kind of share something that's been in the news lately. There was a senator, I forget what state, but they were trying to pass a law for like kind of guaranteed payment for artists. And in that same week, James Blake, if y'all are familiar with him, he kind of helped pilot this platform where it's like, hey, pay $5 a month and subscribe and get my VIP songs. And in the comments, a lot of the listeners were like, I can't do that for my favorite 10, 20 artists. I end up paying more for music. So we're at such a crux in time where politically, they're trying to put their foot down so musicians earn more money. The musicians are choosing solutions that really don't help the end listener. And we have value for value.
I think everyone's aware of the problem, but they don't know maybe yet what the solution is. And maybe value is not a silver bullet, but it's like, you know, it's so much better than just signing up for subscriptions, like you say, for Patreon or whatever. So, I don't know, we just need to get the word out, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an issue, right? How many of you got Spotify subscriptions or Netflix subscriptions or Amazon or Medium, Substack, whatever? How many of you donate from a patron model to certain artists that you love and support? That's a lot to keep track of, right? And so, unfortunately, like we said, a lot of times the value is not actually getting to the content creator directly. They're getting a fraction. And so we actually are working on a project called the Superfan Wallet. And hopefully this is going to be like an opportunity to create a tipping wallet so that every piece of content, every unit of content that you consume from all of these different platforms will get aggregated. And then at the end of the month, let's say you have a $20 a month tipping budget. You have a $100 a month budget. I'm Michael Saylor and I have $1 million a month patron budget, right? And so every month at the end of the month, we'll go, boom, we consumed your songs, your podcasts, these articles, and then all of a sudden it splits as tips into everybody's pieces of content, and then it'll go into the sub-creators and the editors and who made that. And so when you're dealing with value for value, also you're going to have friction and fatigue because you forget, like, oh, I listened to this podcast or I listened to this song and I forgot to zap them or I forgot to tip them. And so then again, you don't want to feel guilty as a consumer. You want to understand that, like, oh, so how can we use technology and make it simple and let the machines do the work for us in the background so that we can go be humans and create the content that's going to move people's hearts and minds and souls.
Did you have something to add?
I think too, like when we get to talking about money and just how to make more money as creators, it's important to remember that you, especially with the value for value model, like if you're not getting any money, it's probably because the content isn't quite good enough yet. So to always keep working on your content and putting out better content, because as this grows, like the barrier to entry is going to keep diminishing and you'll be able to monetize easier and easier. So eventually it won't be, Spotify's fault. It'll be your own fault if you're not getting paid.
Yeah. So we touched on interoperability earlier, and I said, hey, who understands or knows what Nostr is? Maybe 30-40% of people raise their hands, but I want to touch on that a bit further because DJ Valerie did bring up a point. We've got all these subscription services, and they're all kind of walled gardens. Like, so what's next? Well, with Nostr, you have your ID that whenever you go from one platform to another that uses Nostr, your audience comes with you. So if I share my Wavelake link on my Nostr feed, it embeds Wavelake, and when they boost me on Nostr, it then still feeds into other platforms. Those comments can be seen, and that's unique. So I don't know if any of you guys have had challenges maybe being like tied to one platform, but this new optionality we have.
I like the model way better than the model that we have now, because if there's like a new social media platform that comes out, like that my music wasn't initially distributed to, then I have to repay more money to send it out to like the next version of TikTok or whatever. And with this, we won't have to. Huge.
I was just speaking to Michael before, who's the founder of Wavelake, and we were just talking about Nostr because they're sort of integrating with Nostr on the back end, as is Fountain and all these other platforms. And there's so many interesting opportunities that it unlocks. He was saying that they can see from which npub, from which Nostr address a boost came from. So they can start to build up like a social graph and like a sort of ranking of your top boosters. And then you as the artist can decide, okay, these few people are my top 10 fans, top 10 boosts. And if you have like a merch page integrated with Wavelake, say you've got a t-shirt and it's worth like 100,000 sats, and like this person's boosted 90,000, you could be like, they could get a DM saying, oh, boost, Captain Youth, 10,000 more sats and you'll get his t-shirt. Like, you've paid for it in sats. And then, you could invite someone, you could give someone a free concert ticket if you know where they're from and they've boosted you X amount, and they could DM a ticket to their Nostr DMs and stuff like that. There's just so many possibilities. And it's kind of like gamifying it in a bit, but it's just showing like who the true fans are, who your top supporters are. And like Valerie said, you can't get that from Spotify. You just see a number of how many streams you've had, and you're like, well, who are these people? Where are they from? Like, it's just useless information. So, yeah, I kind of think that's cool.
I think it's important to add that it also helps connect you with your fans better and your super fans, because when, at least on Wavelake, when they stream sats to you or send you a zap, they can include a message that you'll get to read too. So it'll kind of just help identify the super fans and then also build your relationship with them as well.
Yeah. So we touched on at the beginning, the fastest growing segment in small business are content creators. And if you've ever looked on YouTube for people telling their story of making money online, or I just hit the follower count, it gets so many views. Like, we are obsessed online with how to make more money. The money's broken, right? Inflation's here. We all have to have 2 to 3 jobs to make it. So this is really changing lives. And I guess as we kind of get wrapping up here in the next 10 minutes, I know, Valerie, you're working on some stuff for content creators, like the Creator Virtual Summit and the Hub. Could you maybe touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so a couple months ago, Joe was a part of it. We hosted the first Bitcoin Creator Virtual Summit, and we had 35 speakers from all different genres, whether we're podcasters, writers, musicians, coders, people who are on Nostr. The intention was we wanted to create the first value for value virtual summit, and we raised a couple $1,000s, and it was really fun because our job is really, as you know, to me, I'm an educator, and my hope is to like create open source playbooks to show other people like how would you use this in your models. And so we had 35 speakers. I think we had about 6,000 people watching live. And what was really cool is people could zap live during the stream, or when we're signing up. They're, of course, getting tickets and pay what you want. It was really cool. But I think having opportunities, again, we're all Bitcoiners here. We're at a conference, right? Our job is to bring Bitcoin to people who are not coming to these conferences, right? And so how can we do that? Virtually is one way, and I think it's very important for those of us, in different industries, whether you're in health and wellness, psychedelics, like we just saw on the previous platform, anything that we're working on, business, marketing, how do we help educate those folks? The online education business industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Nobody is using Bitcoin. They do not understand value for value. And so a lot of the times, you either have to get like a $5,000 mastermind group, or you have to go do a course that's $600 or a $500 a month subscription. And I'm like, well, can't we integrate Lightning and value for value into these areas as well? And then that way, again, we're orange pilling different audiences all over the world with new technologies that are going to give them little bits of value. And then who knows, maybe they're downstream and their fans are going to say, well, I want to use this too. And so, again, keeping in mind that orange domino theory, how can we think about people who we can help support, go over the edge and integrate Bitcoin into their workflow? So it's great.
Wonderful. So I think for the end here, let's leave everyone equipped. So when they walk away, they can use it, take part in the community. Like, we'll start with you, Captain Youth, but what would you share with the audience who maybe has not used value for value, and they say, this inspires me, I want to take action? What would you recommend that person?
I would hop on Wavelake and explore around, click some songs that you like, see if you find any music that's interesting enough to you to stream sats to.
Yeah, I would say definitely download the Fountain app. It's fountain.fm. You guys can get that online. That's a great place. You can listen to music and podcasts, and then you can top up your wallet, and you can zap sats to your favorite artists and creators. What's cool, you can do it on a one-by-one basis and say, cool, I love this episode, or I love Joe's songs. Or you can have it set for, okay, every minute of content that I consume, it's going to stream, 5 sats or whatever it is. So definitely play with all of the tools and have some fun with it. It's like, and we love it. Like, I'm so grateful. People think like, oh, it's only 10 sats. I'm like, it's something that you took 10 seconds out of your day to say, hey, this was cool. That means more to me than the money. What means something to me is like, I got feedback from you, again, so that I can serve you as my fans and audience and give you the best content possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Get on Wavelake, get on Fountain, just play around with these things. I kind of feel like it's a case of, show not tell. We can talk about this all day, but as soon as we can show someone, get the app and show how to boost some sats to an artist or a podcast like that, as soon as the onboard from someone that's got no Bitcoin, no sats, that can just click a button and boom, they've done it. We're nearly there. But when that day comes, then it's like, you know, it's going to be great. So, yeah, show not tell.
And if you have not seen it yet, at the very front here where they sell merch just directly behind us, there was a vinyl record that Wavelake pressed in collaboration with a lot of the Value for Value artists, and they have 500 copies. Joe's on the record, Martin Groom's right here on the front rows on the record, won the title track, and it's a great opportunity to not only support Wavelake and the Value for Value artists, but way to kind of break into and maybe get to know some of the folks here at the conference. But we got a couple minutes. Any final words? Anything anybody would like to share that's relevant?
These platforms, Wavelake and Fountain and Podcasting 2.0 and Value for Value, it's not going anywhere. So I just encourage you guys to get out and be early adopters and to play around and see what it's about for yourself. It's only going to get better, and it's pretty good right now.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And if any of you guys have questions, if you're content creators, podcasters, musicians, anything, obviously we're here to answer your questions and help you in any way that we can. So reach out to us, DM us. It's fun. Like we want to get this message out there and help, you know, educate ourselves and each other. I'm going to plug Ross right now, if that's okay. So you guys, when Trump is speaking, we are all trying to get a big, like 10,000 person group photo to free Ross. I don't know if y'all know who Ross Albright is, and he is serving, I think, 7 life sentences for writing code. And imagine if anybody who wrote, you know, made the iPhone is going to jail because people use the iPhone for things. And so this poor man is sitting and rotting in jail. And so our job is to help whoever the next president is release Ross. And so get your shirt, please sign it, or, you know, wave it up in the air. We're going to be getting that going on during the thing. So thank you. And you can get them right when you're walking in, or come get some from me. I'll get you guys hooked up.
Yeah, and I want to say that, like, Bitcoin adoption is probably like downstream of culture. Like, we're not going to win over the regular person by like getting them to read Mises or talking about hard money. You know, that's a very select group of people. So we're going to be winning the hearts and minds of people with Bitcoin culture, and music is a part of that. So yeah, we're all on Wavelake. Find us there. So listen to the music, and if you like it, give us a boost in your Value for Value compatible app, and the Bitcoin record as well that you mentioned.
Well, guys, this has been great. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone that's here. Goodbye.
There we go.